Train. I'd like to welcome you to the channel. Most viewed videos is here. Live threshold, how far the bar will pull back before resuming. Price action trend, you just need to be able to count to 10. The price action method, I use the majority principle, which states that the minority is compelled to follow. The chart scale, so I teach you how to read your hard right edge so you don't have to look left and you can know where price will turn. I appreciate all the continued support on each one of these videos. You guys have been wonderful hitting the like button. And I want to give you a chance to actually interact with the market today, during the day, because usually I'll come back after the day had, kind of progressed a bit. But because of what they did yesterday, all right, and again, I want to make sure that I celebrate each one of you for even stopping by and viewing the video as well. I'm going to give you a chance to kind of get in front of today's activity. We've been talking about that 29,750 and then that 28,994. Now on yesterday, I took our zone off because I thought, and I said it yesterday, I said, hey, I did tell you guys, and I believe it was Tuesday's video, I said, it's how they build themselves if they hit that price. But on yesterday, I told you, I said, man, they're accelerating. So they may actually close beneath it. To my surprise, the moment I gave you guys the video, they decided they're going to turn it around. So let's do it this way. Let's come back and take a look. So that's that because I had took the zone off, but I put a level there because I want you guys to see it on the 1 minute how they actually turned it around and came back. And I did tell you, don't let them come back and close above this 29 to 28 and a quarter. And they've managed to get right back up here and close above it, and they're still continuing. And again, we had this price here, right, which is that 29,750. I put that out there on Sunday for Monday, all right, as well as that 28,994. I did tell you guys that they would come back here. They had left something back here and they needed to take care of it. I did say to you, they could want to go get this first before coming this way. However, they did it like that. So they wanted to do this first, and now you can probably anticipate that they may want to close above here. Maybe not today. Maybe tomorrow. On Friday. Maybe on Thursday. I'll say Thursday. Yeah. So I'm getting a little thrown off because I'm doing this video so early. All right. So yeah. So maybe on today. Definitely tomorrow if they have interest. So they should be up there at that 29,750. So just get ready for it. How they break this high. We definitely don't want them to come back and close beneath this. All right. And that's just as simple as it can get. I wanted to show you there's the bar with the circle and the arrow or the triangle, if you will. There's that circle there with both. All right, that's important. And then of course you have it here. So we don't want them back here. We don't want them back here. We really don't. But I know unless they accelerate through this high, give themselves some room away from this bar, they very well may come back under this price. So what is the low here? 29, I mean 289.50. All right, so let's just kind of put that there on the chart, and we'll use this one. All right, all right, let me make sure I get that price right. It's a little early here. 289.50, 289.50. All right, so let's just put this over here. 289.50. Well, we got that going on, so let's just do this. All right, so let's see if they can stay above here. And our worst case scenario, we'll get that other price, but I don't think they need to be back there. I'm gonna be honest, I don't. But they could lean over. They can do what they want. So let's just go ahead and get this price as well, which is 29,050. So let's get this price one more time. 290.55.50. 290.55.50. All right. So let's just put those two there. And so these two prices on the way inside this hourly. This is an hourly chart. There's your 15-minute, 1 minute, and your 5 minute. So these two prices, we definitely just don't want them to close beneath here, but either one of these will be bad. So we're going to have to keep them above both of these prices before it even gets to this point. All right, let's just say it that way. And see, can we get them up to that 29,750? All right, so that 29,750. And so I do believe they'll come under here. I do. They may do it before they break this high. They may come under here. You do not want them closing under this bar. All right. So if you're new and you haven't been watching the last few videos here, you don't want them closing under this bar. Preferably none of the bars that has the little arrow on it or the triangle, if you will. You don't want them closing under these bars, but most definitely this one. All right, you really don't want that. And so this is what that reversal looked like. They turn that corner, and again the signals begin to plot. Okay, and we talked about this one yesterday. That's the 15-minute kind of got it going there. They closed under that bar there, and they took off to the downside. They had that confluence right at 8:30 with that news. They kind of played that back and forth in there, and then they got into this bottom, and you can tell they flipped that bar there. Okay, and this is on the 15-minute. And then they came in with it just above that bar, and they've managed to give you a couple of them on the way. A couple of them on the way. All right. Now, is it perfect? No. All right. It's not perfect, but it's just a good benchmark. All right. So they have one right here. They're kind of dancing at it. You don't want them closing under that bar. I do suspect they'll get through this high as well as over there. I do suspect that that's the case, but that's what you got for right there. And then the 5 minute, I kind of outlined this one, not so much the 1 minute. I didn't want to do it all the way up until this morning, but I definitely outlined it from that reversal. So on that 5 minute, same thing. All right, so the bar with the circle and the little triangle in there. You want to make sure they do not close under that bar. Follow the triangles. Just do that if you can. Now, I did tell you guys in yesterday's video that the bar with the circle tends to let you know that they're going to give back. So they're going to give back a little bit. So if you see the bar with the circle without the actual triangle, it's to let you know that there may be a give back. So they're going to give back some of the profits. All right. So a little simple tool that I made. All right. Both of them very simple things to follow for fun. All right. Now on the 1 minute, I'm going to show you that turn down at that bottom and where we left off at. I didn't mark this one up. I just didn't. I just didn't. I didn't feel up to it. So, but from that turn, I marked it. All right, and there's that price. That one I told you guys they may close beneath. We left off. Price was here. All right, so price was here on yesterday. All right, that was yesterday's video. They managed to bring it back down just a bit. So let me just do this. You don't want them closing over these bars with the circle and the triangle. You just don't want that. All right, so I'll just mark this just a little bit. Came in on this side of it, came in on this side of it, came in on this side of it, and then they came right in on that bottom and flipped that bar, and then it came in on above it. All right, so it came in above it, and they began to take off to the upside. All right, and there's all the opportunities there, and they got more. I just didn't want to mark it all. All right, I don't want to kidnap you with that information here. They're giving one for the downside, and again, these are both, so they could be single as well as dual plots. See, this right here may have been a dual plot, but they're primarily, and I want to say this, they're primarily single bar plots. All right, single bar plots with that circle and the triangle there. So whenever you see the circle and the triangle, they're primarily a single bar plot. Single bar plot. Occasionally it will be a two-bar plot. All right, it can still work just as effective as the single bar plot. I want to go ahead and say that to you. So it's important, very important, very important. All right, so let's see what we got here. I'm gonna just mark this just a little bit, kind of give you a visual as to what's going on. All right, so now what you're looking for, if you're new to trading, you have no idea on how to trade, let me help you out just a bit. Let me just compress this down so you can see the rest of it. So you're looking for a bar. Okay, now this live candle, all right, that oscillates, the one that goes up and down, you're wanting the mid of this candle to exceed the prior candle, to go up, If you're wanting to go down, you want this bar here that's oscillating, jumping up and down, jumping up and down. You want the mid of this candle to exceed that prior bar's low. All right, so if you get it to exceed the high, if you get it to exceed the low, you pretty much got that direction. Now, what are you going for? This is what the market is suggesting to you. All right, it's telling you that it's willing to go that far. Will it work every time? Absolutely not. It won't. But it's a good benchmark because the market tends to overlap. All right, so they overlap activity, which is what I was explaining in the last couple videos here. So if the mid of the bar, we're over here on the hourly now, the mid of the bar lands inside of the prior bar, you're in chop, right? It's not to say it can't drift in that direction. It could. Or you can end up with a scenario where they're going to do at least 4 bars. We're talking bodies inside of this one. All right, so you're going to get at least 4 bars inside of this one here. That could just frustrate you. All right, that can just, like here. See, here is everywhere. It's everywhere. I'm not going to dig through the 1 minute, but you get it. Just go to your chart and you'll take a look and you'll see if you find yourself with that kind of scenario, it'll end up being that kind of problem where they'll just kidnap you for a very long time. All right, so now the next thing that you'll want to look for, they're doing it right now. So this bar may turn green if they can keep it that way. Nope, they wasn't able to do so. All right, so now with the wick, you're going to want to find a bigger wick, a smaller wick. All right, so if you can't find, well, I hope you can find this, but if you can't, look for this with, we want to kind of build reason. All right, so we're trying to get a couple things to line up. You want to get a body that can fit into the next candle at least twice. All right, so you want this body to fit in there twice. All right, you want this body to fit in there twice. That's it. All right, so you want to try to put all 3 of these scenarios together if possible. If you're able to get them all 3, fantastic. So what does that look like? You got it here. So there's all 3 of them. You got a big wick, no wick, body can fit in there twice, mid fell beneath the low. That's why the candle turns red. So it should go. Let's find it on the opposite side of the market here. We got it on this bottom. Let me just kind of blow this up so we can grab that. So we got it down here. All right, so we got all 3. All right, so we got the big wick, we got the no wick, we got the body fitting in there twice, and then mid exceeded that high. Fantastic. It can absolutely want to get to the upside. You had another one here too. So you had another one here. All right, so that kind of works. All right, now for the short, you had it here again for the short. I just don't know if this is gonna work because they're trying to move it up. They're actually trying to move it up, so I don't know if this is gonna hold to the downside. Now let's give you the rest of the information here. So now when it comes to the threshold, typically it'll be just slightly outside of the midpoint of the bar, slightly outside of the midpoint of the bar. All right, and you don't want them to go too far into the bar before they go again. So usually this live candle, this one here that would be jumping up and down, usually it'll pull down and then it will take off. And usually this live candle right here that's jumping up and down, usually it'll pull up and then it'll take off. Right, so you don't want it to go too far. You don't want it to go too far. They're probably get ready to try to climb back up into this candle just a bit. So now when it comes to the chart scale, we talked about this yesterday. Let's see, let's go back just really quickly here and then we'll do that. All right, so here I did the chart scale effect in yesterday's video. All right, I had drew this information here, that and that, and as you can tell, I told you in yesterday's video, if they're beneath the center of the chart, and definitely if they can hold beneath where they were at, because remember we were right here and I drew that level there. They managed to push up just a little bit trying to get to our suggested target because they had everything on this one, and then they ended up declining. Now what does that look like here? I'm not going to stay on this video until they do this, but I just want to go in and show you that. Let's go with that one more time. So here's the center of the chart. Now I'm going to give a take here. All right, I'm not perfect with this. Center of the chart right here. All right, now if we want them to stay up, we need them not to start operating beneath the lower half of the chart. Let me try to get this right. Can it go down? Yes, it can go down, but let's see if they could get back up from here. All right, let me try to color this. Give me 1 second. All right, do forgive me. All right, so here we go. Let's try to keep them above here. They're slightly overshooting the center of the chart, which that sucks. They're slightly doing it, but that's what they want to do. All right, so now let's get the upper half of the chart. Do forgive me, I got a lot of stuff running on this computer. All right, so here we got the upper part of the chart as well. So let's do this. All right, and this is how you read your bezel. All right, I'm gonna tell you what the bezel is if you don't already know. I don't want you looking left. That's the most important part. You don't have to look left. You got to stay with them in real time. Keep up with what they're doing and what they're suggesting. You're more than welcome to look left if you prefer, but I want you to know that whatever is showing up on that right hand side, will inevitably land on the left hand side. So if you effectively can read, all right, so there's the signal there. Again, it could be a single bar plot or a two bar plot, but primarily it's a single bar plot. I want to tell you that. All right, either way, it works. All right, just want to go ahead and tell you that. So here we go. All right, so hopefully they'll stay above here. Maybe they just want to reach down just a tad bit more and then bring it back up. Hopefully that's the case. If not, we're going to go with what they suggested. What did they suggest when they made this? Now, sometimes, and I'm going to go ahead and make mention of this, okay, that's saying that they can get here. Sometimes they'll pull up and offer you the distance. All right, so it could still end up being that, so if they don't want to get here, which isn't a great deal of difference, sometimes they pull up and then they give you the distance. Now, when it comes to the trend, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and go over this really quickly here. When it comes to the trend, you're looking for 7 bars closing higher. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's 7. All right, so we're just going to kind of do this. All right, so and then you measure that. You measure that information there, and you project it. And all the bars must close higher or lower than the prior. All right. If they're trying to put 7 back down, that would be 1, 2. They all have to close lower than the prior. 3. You ignore any in between. 4. I think this one closed lower. Let's just go ahead and take a look. You can look in the upper left hand corner. Close 15. Close 15. No. 4. This is 5, 6, and that's 7. Now it can't be both. All right. So if they're going to do this, if they're going to go down, okay, if they're going to go down, this is how far the trend is suggesting that it will go, and that's back through that bottom. All right. So again, we want to try to keep them above 29 to 89.50, and if possible, let me put that 0 in there. If possible, definitely don't let them pass this 290.55.50. And let's not see that happen, because that definitely will create that problem. And then they may end up back down here. I didn't want them down here, but I had to give you a reference point because they were accelerating. All right, so they got back above our bar with both signals, and they're of course going to head up here. And I believe that again that 29.750 is where they intend to be if they're going to stay up. All right, so go ahead and aim for that. Go ahead and aim for that. They may lean over a little bit. Use that information there. That's why I'm giving this to you so early. And I'll be back on tomorrow. I'm not going to come back today. Going to come back tomorrow, and then tomorrow will be my final video for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this week with me. Again, I appreciate all the support, all the continued likes and stuff, even a couple comments I had received. Thank you so much for being so kind. I just wanted to come back and give you guys some information. I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you want the indications, if you're new and you want the indications, the information is down below the video. There's education as well, so you don't have to go and spend what you would spend on an indicator with a vendor. You can actually get education, something that's going to last you, all right, something that's going to take you a lot further. All right, so indications are fun, and again, they're there if you want them. All right, so they made it. They made the distance there. All right, so I wish you all the best with your trading. Take care.